Shah. On behalf of GES, I, Dr. Sonia Thalani, welcomes you all. We are grateful to our current chairman, Shri Samir Parikh, Sir, and Kajnat Trust for their unwavering support and guidance. We are also thankful to our sponsoring partners, FGI, Lubamin Chemicals, and Shelley for extending their support to make this event more successful. Today, we are pleased to have with us Padma Bhushan Lord Meghnad Desai, Sir, Member of British House of Lords and Emeritus Professor of Economics at London School of Economics as the keynote speaker. We also have with us the presence of Padma Shri M.H. Mehta, Sir, Chairman, National Working Groups of Eco-Agriculture, ICFA and Gujarat Life Science as a session chair. I invite Padma Bhushan, Lord Desai Sir, Padma Shri Mehta Sir and Shri Samir Parikh Sir to grace the dais.
To begin with our program and seek the divine blessings, I invite students of Anand Vidya Vihar to come on the stage and offer the prayers. Thank you, Sohini, Janvi, and Sanvi. May I now request Shri Samir Parikh Sir to felicitate Padma Bhushan Lord Meghnad Desai ji with small token of appreciation. Once again, I request Shri Samir Parikh sir to felicitate Padma Shri M.H. Mehta ji with small token of appreciation. Thank you, sir. Now I request our chairman, Shri Samir Parikh sir, to deliver the welcome address. Shri Parikh sir.
Thank you, Sonia. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and a privilege to stand before this distinguished gathering. On behalf of the board of the Gujarat Ecology Society, I welcome you all. The Gujarat Ecology Society recognizes the importance of collaborative initiatives and the power of informed dialogue. Today's event is not just a lecture, but a catalyst for change, a forum for ideas, and a call to action. The Hasmukh Shah Memorial Lecture is instituted to pay tribute to him for creating and nurturing the idea of Gujarat Ecology Society, establishing and promoting numerous other institutions, and you must have seen the video tribute that many of those institution leaders gave last year when we instituted this award, and for making an impact. We are honored to have with us today the esteemed Padma Bhushan Lord Meghnad Desai, whose intellectual prowess and dedication to sustainable development have left an indelible mark across the globe. Thank you, sir, for agreeing to visit Vadodara, especially for this event. During our various conversations, especially last evening, I experienced the actual facets of your greatness: unconventional thinking, forthrightness, and versatility. We are equally honored to have the session chair, Padma Shri Dr. M.H. Mehta, whose contributions to the field of environment science are invaluable and need no introduction. Thank you, sir, for agreeing to chair this session. In every interaction with you, I get more enriched through the real-life stories that you share with me. We are delighted to have Nilaben Hasmukh Bhai sir today amidst us. Despite the health challenges, your presence today is an inspiration to all of us, Nilaben. Let's give a big round of applause for coming today. Climate change is not a distant threat. It's an imminent reality that demands our immediate attention and concerted efforts. The world stands at crossroads, and our choices today will shape not only the future generations, but also for us. Lord Meghnad Desai's wisdom, coupled with the guidance of Dr. M.H. Mehta, promises to be a journey into the heart of this complex issue, offering us perspectives that can enlighten our understanding and inspire meaningful action. As you know, GES is also launching the Hasmukh Shah Award for Ecological Studies. I am delighted that the first round of these annual awards witnessed participation from across the country. GES is thankful to Kachnar Trust, Nilaben, and the family members, especially Alpna and others, for creating this idea and extending full financial and technical support. I also want to commend the researchers who participated in the first awards for their dedication to the cause of ecological studies. GES also acknowledges the support for Rubamin. Mr. Dalmia is not in town, I guess. Shaili Engineering Group, Mr. Sanghvi is here for the event, and the FGI President and Managing Committee for offering this venue. Thank you all for attending the event, as well as all the corporate and government organizations, institutions with whom GES partners throughout the year for various environmental studies. You must have seen the list of projects that GES has done in all these 27 years, more than 55 of them, reaching out to various corners of the country. Your support helps us running engine of this institute. In the spirit of the Hasmukh Shah Memorial Lecture, let the knowledge imparted inspire us and propel us towards a future where we can confidently answer the question, yes, the world can and will tackle the climate change. Meghnad bhai, I know you have your own views on this. and we'll be discussing those things during the day. Meghnad bhai, interesting part is that, of course, he can speak very well Gujarati, bahut saru bole chhe, and born and brought up in Baroda. Pehla 10 years he spent in Baroda, Rajmahal Road par rehta tha, and we kept talking about old Baroda and many aspects of old Baroda. So that's Lord Meghnad. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, may I request Honorable Lord Meghnad Desai to deliver second Hasmukh Shah Memorial Lecture and enlighten us on the global issue of climate change and whether humankind will ever be able to tackle it. Lord Desai.
Thank you. Yes, I was born in Baroda, confess. And the first school building I went to was the Madhyavarti Shala. Some of you may know, very near Khandera Market. It's the best education building I went all my life. It's a beautiful structure. I've never been in a better educational structure. But I have to say this, that every Friday we had to sing a prayer. Shri Prabhu Apo Dirga Aj Shri Man Pratap Si Maharajane Shantidata Ek Rupnu Suraj Jagatama Achar Raho Kirtivant Vishwamadhajo. As you can understand, this prayer didn't do him any good. And I lost my faith in prayers at a very young age. So there we are. But Baroda is a very good memory for me, and so I thank you for inviting me to Baroda to give this lecture, the Hasmukh Shah lecture. Now, I didn't, of course, know Sri Hasmukh Shah personally, but I have been reading his autobiography. And obviously, he was an immensely impressive person. And what I sort of got out of reading the biography is optimism for India. Because in a sense, in every major country that I have lived in 3, India, UK and US, they have a way of spotting talent and harnessing talent to work in national interest. And these are different methods. American president gets elected and chooses an entirely new team from his friends or whatever it is. They're mainly men, so I can say his. In England, there's a civil service, which is a very solid civil service, and you can't actually do anything without the permission of the civil service. You may have your special advisors, but nobody pays that much interest. Now, the interesting thing about Hasmukh Bhai's career is that nothing in his own account of his college life, or school or college life, warns you that he is an amazingly bright man who is absolutely versatile. You don't see that. But somehow the system selects, picks him up, and realizes his potential. And that I think is a very remarkable fact. Somebody who says he's not very good at academic life and so on, graduates in sociology and taught sociology and comparative religion, within 5 years is advising the Prime Minister, a man who's going to become Prime Minister. And very soon he's advised 3 Prime Ministers before you know where he is. And then he's running a petrochemical industry. Now how does a boy who's done sociology end up running a petroleum industry, and successfully? It's so successfully that GE, one of the best corporations in the world, wants to do business with IPCL. That is, for me, the fact that the system could spot him and realize his potential for a variety of things he was able to do. Looking at his career, it's remarkable how many things he accomplished in his life. A system which can find persons like that and put them in the right place is a system that's going to win. I have no doubt that India will win because it has that kind of informal links, cultural links, social links, which spots the good person and gets him up to the top and says, you work for the system. I think that's the most remarkable fact of his career. And I think it's remarkable that he was recognized in his lifetime and even after that. That I think says good things about him and about Gujarat and about India. So thank you very much for that. I think I'm very impressed by reading about him. Now, I better come to my topic. And I have to say that I may shock you. I may upset you, but fair enough, that's my business in life. I want to not leave my audience happy after they have listened to me. I've never done that, so I have systematically follow the idea that I'm not here to make you happy. I'm here to make you think and be troubled rather than go away happy that everything is all right with the world, because there isn't. Now, let me start by an autobiographical sort of account. When I was 21, I left India and I went to America with a fellowship. And when I landed in New York in 1961, there was a very successful book called The Silent Spring. And that book was a sensationally popular book, New York Times bestseller list and so on. And that book said that because we were using insecticides extensively, DDT and all that, worms and little creatures were eating that and they were poisoning themselves. And if a bird ate an insect, the bird died. So the problem is called the silent spring. Because we were using insecticides, insects were eating that and birds were dying, and very soon there will be no natural bird life. And for a while we were all discussing insecticides and DDT and how DDT was a great danger and so on, the whole climate change movement more or less started around about that time, 1960s. And in 1960, because also there was space exploration started in the late 50s, Sputnik was put into the sky by the Russians and then other space. We, for the first time, had a picture from space of the Earth. And that was a very inspirational picture. First time they said, we are a single family. Here is an Earth out there. It's not a vast thing, it's just a little thing. Look at it, and suddenly people started talking in terms of climatic, sort of the whole Earth is a family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and all that. And somehow we ought to be able to behave like a family. Now, obviously, my own cynical view is that family is where all the quarrels take place. Because all of Mahabharata is all about how a family can destroy itself. And so, at least as Indians, we ought not to believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, but that's another story. But in a sense, we somehow feel that we have a common interest in the survival of the world. And for the last early 1960s, mid-1960s till now, we have had a series of climate conferences. The whole scientific forecast of the likelihood of global warming is very sound, and I do not doubt the veracity of that forecast. I'm not doubting the science of climate change. The science of climate change is entirely correct, and we already have experience that we read about forest fires and all sorts of ecological disasters and people migrating from one country to another and all that. So there is no doubt that something is happening and that ideally we ought to do something about that. Now, we've just had a COP conference of participants and in an oil-producing country, and so we've had yet again another finely nuanced commitment to do something about something. And we watch for adjectives and adverbs in little of the statements, as if, are we moving closer to actually taking the problem seriously? And I think as of what happened recently, answer is no. We're not serious about what's happening. And I want to explore with you the reasons why it's difficult for us, the human race, or whatever you call ourselves, to take this challenge seriously. If climate change is a very serious prospect, and if it is true that, say, by some date, 2050 or whatever, we are going to be in serious trouble, we ought to worry about that. But of course, we don't worry about that. We have conferences after conferences after conferences. And then when you read about it from a national perspective, the first thing the newspaper report says, it was very good for India because we saved our coal. Right? In Glasgow, what happened? India and China said, we're doing nothing with your climate change nonsense. We have coal stocks and we're going to go on burning coal. You may do whatever you may like to get lost. And most recently, if you have read the newspapers of Indian account of it, we preserved our coal. So in a sense, there is a perspective of each country. I'm not just blaming India for it. Each country has a perspective on this. Yes, it's good for everybody, but not about us. Let us find out how we can get away with not doing anything about this. Now, one has to ask, what are the reasons for this sort of behavior? Now, I want to divert slightly from this account because I want to talk about a parallel crisis in which we seem to have managed a bit better. See, again, when I was in America in the early 60s, the big danger at that time was nuclear destruction of the whole world. And at that time, there were schemes in the US of having houses built which had to have a shelter protected against likely nuclear attack. And there were calculations as to how many people could you fit into a shelter and keep them warm without any external heating and all that. And people are really taking this seriously. And we were, every end of the year, 31st of December, there would be a television program where experts would talk about whether the clock was at 5 minutes to 12 or was 3 minutes to 12, how quickly there would be a nuclear holocaust in the world. And at that time, there was a huge popular movements, political movements, in UK, US, people discussing the problem of nuclear weapons spreading and so on. And today, nobody is worried about nuclear destruction at all. How many countries have now got a nuclear device? About 10. At that time, there were 3, and we were worried, And interesting question, why did we lose the fear of nuclear destruction? It's not gone away. People are openly saying, Putin may use nuclear weapons on Ukraine, and nobody's worried at all. It's very likely that in this era, the Israel, Hamas, or somebody may do something peculiar with maybe Iranians or the Houthis, and nobody seems to be worried about it. And the question, what is it that we have decided that don't worry about nuclear weapons? All right, they're just firecrackers or whatever. And it's an interesting psychological question. I only thought about raising it when I was asked to speak here. Because when I was asked to speak, I thought, yes, climate change is a problem. Yes, I ought to say to people, it's a problem which nobody's taking seriously. But then I thought, why are they not taking it seriously? And I thought about nuclear because I lived through the Cuban Missile Crisis. I was in Philadelphia at that time, and the Cuban Missile Crisis happened, and I heard Kennedy live saying that any attack by Cuba on any part of the Western Hemisphere would be regarded as an attack by Soviet Union on the United States, and we will retaliate. This is it. And we were waiting for the war to break out. And the war didn't break out. And I think one of the things which happened psychologically at that stage, when that war did not happen, people thought, okay, people who were seriously likely to fight and with all the circumstances suddenly decided rationally not to fight. And after that, we have never had any serious challenge on the nuclear front. Now, the question I want to raise is it likely, I don't know the answer, is it likely that that is what is ultimately at the back of people's mind? That while scientists may say we're going to warm up 1.5 degrees or whatever it is, we've lived for 60 years with this warning, at least 60 years. Nothing has happened. And maybe it may happen something in 2050, but who knows about 2050? At least I won't be there. I don't know who else will be there. Is it that people are not taking the threat seriously because they don't actually believe it will happen? And one of the things I want to raise is it possible that it may not happen? Well, I don't know that it will happen. But is that what the psychological secret of this, conferences every year since, at least in early 1970, I remember 71, there was a conference in Stockholm, which the slogan was, 1 week to save the world. And that was a week long ago. And we had countless conferences like this. We had, I remember there was a movement against the growth. The growth was a problem. We must not have too much economic growth, otherwise we'll run out of raw materials and all. Again and again, nobody takes this threat seriously. We don't actually alter our behavior with any sense of urgency. And we have to go free of carbon something by 2030 or 2040 or 2050. It's always day after tomorrow that we are going to take it seriously, but not today. And the question is it that we don't actually believe this threat will happen, or is it that we think it will happen to everybody else but not to us? Which is also a perfectly reasonable sort of sentiment to have, that somehow we shall escape and everybody else will suffer. So I want to explore that question as to what is it that makes people, there are conference after conference, hundreds of people go and they fly to these conferences and so on and discuss carbon generation or whatever it is. And the same sort of issues arise again and again. And those are the issues of justice, i.e. that the people who produce oil and all those polluting things are very rich, and they don't really feel any pressure to do anything other than go on producing what they do. And they always find one or other reason to postpone the bad day when they will have to stop producing what actually their whole wealth depends on. But among those people, they're not only people who produce oil, but the largest users of that material are also very rich. So by and large, there is a group of very powerful countries, some large, some small, who have a vested interest in keeping the status quo going. And whatever they or some part of the population may say, it's very difficult for governments, especially popularly elected governments, to be able to say, this is going to be very unpopular, but I have to do it because it is in the interest of my grandchildren. And your grandchildren aren't going to vote for you, so don't worry about your grandchildren, worry about people right now. And again, democracies, responsible democracies, have to cater for their voters. Period. There is no other way of operating in a democracy. If it was not a democracy, we may have a different alternative, but I would not want to go into that. So, in a sense, there is a problem that our self-interest, our short-term self-interest, definitely conflicts with our possible long-term interest. And not only that, there is another aspect to it, because if I'm a country passively suffering from climate change, for example, if I'm in a small island economy, and I know that the sea level is going to rise, and more or less, very soon, within the next 10 or 15 years, it will be impossible to live on that land because it will be submerging under the sea. It's urgent for me, more urgent than just for somebody else, that I decide where am I going to migrate. And for me, at least, the problem, the most urgent problem, is the problem of those islands in South Pacific and elsewhere, which are guaranteed to sink under the sea. And the people who live there cannot actually go on living there within their own lifetime, within 10 or 15 years. And again, when you go to these conferences, they say, oh, we give 100 billion pounds to such and such fund, etc. And the fund is never set up. Everybody promises, but nobody actually collects that money. And we haven't actually thought through, not that these people need money, they need somewhere to go to. You need a global planning as to where are the empty countries where these people can go and settle. Because, I look at the European situation, and the Europeans are absolutely against any migration to Europe from Africa or from South America. I mean, in the UK, what they call illegal migration has become a very big political issue. And it is not as if UK is all that crowded, but somehow we don't want other people. And people coming across the Mediterranean from Africa into Europe, again, is the same sort of opposition. And it's very racist as well. But now, that would be a problem which if really cared about human race, we would first of all address. Because, my own private view is, then there are countries which are relatively empty. And they may not want to be told that. For those, take Mongolia or Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan. If you look at the density of those countries, it is a fraction of the density of a European country. Germany is about 250 per square miles. Turkmenistan is about 15 or something like that. So there are, okay, it may be that more than 15 or more than 25 can't live there because the soil is not very fruitful, whatever it is. But we could actually ask ourselves, is it possible that we give the Turkmenistan people enough money and transfer people from the South Pacific Islands to Turkmenistan so at least they don't get drowned? Nobody has thought about that. Why? Because it doesn't concern the rich countries to settle people, and of course every country resents other people coming into the neighborhood. So we don't actually like neighbors. We want to avoid these people as neighbors, so on. But more generally, as I said, the people who own these assets or people who use these assets intensively, the relatively rich countries, are not interested in tackling climate change. Now, the poorer countries who would like to sort of tackle climate change don't really have any weapons they can use to be able to make the other people cater to their needs, because they are they're in a situation. So in any country, there are the rich and there are poor. By and large, whatever government may say, their economic policies favor the rich. It's always good. In UK right now, talk about income tax cut for the rich, and everybody applauds you. And talk about raising money for the benefits of the poor. They say, but that will cause a budget deficit. We can't have. That's life. That's life in our society. So by and large, we have this difference in preferences. Let me use an economics, technical economic word. The preferences of the rich and the poor are different. And the poor may want certain kind of redistribution, certain kind of taxation, certain kind of diversion of resources from the rich to the poor, and the rich have sufficient clout not to get that happen. That's life, So we have the problem that there is no community of interest in the world, realistically speaking, except on a very idealistic basis. You may idealistically believe that, oh, mankind is a single place and we all love each other and therefore we ought to sort of behave in a cooperative way. We don't. There's no proof in the world's history that we ever behave sensibly. We don't behave. We look after our own interests first. And because we look after our own interests, it's not in our interest to look after, worry about other person. And now, in a sense, what has the future generation done for me that I should do anything for the future generation? That sort of attitude. Now, I'm sorry to say this, but we had in economics a sort of technical debate a few years ago, 30, 40 years ago. The idea at that time was that somehow you can think of a national economy in a single kind of a set, that each person in economic theory, each person maximizes their utility, their own satisfaction from consumption and so on. And the utility grows with consumption, but grows at a slower pace as we go on. So that being the case, the poor people get more out of an extra dollar than the rich person. The idea was, suppose you transfer $1 of income from a rich person to a poor person. The overall benefit of society will increase because the rich person doesn't lose that much utility and the poor person gains a lot of utility. So isn't it a good idea that we ought to have governments which look at the social welfare of the whole society and try and maximize that? Of course, it was a very popular idea in the 1930s and so on. And then, of course, people started raising philosophical objections to that and so on. And nowadays, people no longer believe that. And the idea was that you can't do that because people's tastes differ so much that I can't say confidently that the rich person losing £1 will definitely have lose less utility than a poor man. The rich man, in one of the examples, the rich man may lose £1 and not be able to hear a lovely symphony by Beethoven. And the loss is so great that giving that £1 to a poor man to buy bread is no compensation. Overall utility of society is going down. If people have differences in terms of their tastes and preferences, you can't compare their happiness and misery. And that kind of logic is going through right now in all these conferences. Everybody says, yes, of course we have to do something about it, but not for me, thank you very much. And that's a very convincing argument because ultimately each country is sovereign. We have constructed the international system. We may talk about cooperation and United Nations and so on. The United Nations is based on sovereign countries. And sovereign countries mean that you can't make them do anything they don't want to do. You can't prevent people from committing suicide. Sorry about that. It is against the law. So in a sense, we really have the problem that the rich and the poor countries don't really have a logic to get together and do something which will prevent a common danger hitting all those countries. Either because they don't believe it will hit them simultaneously, or they don't believe it will hit them yet, or, and this is one escape route I want to offer, or you may believe that there will be a solution which will be found through invention. Something will turn up which will make it unnecessary for us to burn fossil fuels. Some new process or some new element or some new metal will be invented which will make it obsolete for us to use fossil fuels. And if we can get rid of fossil fuels from our lives and have something miraculous which does not cause any carbon generation in the atmosphere, then, so in a sense, one escape hatch may be that you will find a way out. The fact that you can have now electric cars rather than cars which are burning petrol means that you have less pollution from people who are driving cars than used to be the case. And it may be that very soon we will not have any petrol-burning cars. We'll only have electric cars. And then there are people talking about hydrogen, something or other. So one idea is, don't worry about climate change, or you may worry about it, but there will be very soon something which will get us out of this dilemma. That's one escape. Second escape is basically believing that I know I can't do anything at the global level, but at least in my own behavior, I ought to do whatever little I can do. For example, I ought not to waste water. And therefore, if I am brushing my teeth, I should not leave the tap running while I'm brushing my teeth, but I should switch it off. Only use the tap running when I actually am using the water. Now, I have seen a documentary on this. I was very impressed by that. So now I don't leave the tap running when I'm brushing my teeth. I don't know how much it helps, but there's a kind of, I would call it a Gandhian idea, that whatever you do, you can do, you should do to avert evil. Doesn't matter if the rest of the world doesn't do. And it may give us a satisfaction that, okay, we are still doing something, and if everybody does that. And that is, I think, a consolation, but not actually a very effective consolation. But so I think either believing that there will be a new invention which will save us, and there's always a hope for that because we have had lots and lots of inventions going on, or that micro individual actions may add up. Just if you're lucky, may add up so that they will make a global difference to the world as it is. And another thing which I think in this conference people are trying is it could be that if we change the pricing of things, if we price the carbon properly, if we price the use of fossil fuel properly, or if we try and get renewable resources, things done from water or solar power or something like that, we may just be able to postpone the climate change. Now, I think it is the case that finding alternative sources of energy creation is feasible. And we know that a lot of people are doing things on wind power, and a lot of things are being done on solar power. And India, for example, is very good on solar power. It may be that there is just enough scope to be able to, again, to escape or postpone by using alternative resources. Again, it has been mentioned, but we find, at least in the UK, that people complain if there is wind power thing constructed in the neighborhood because it makes my neighborhood ugly and my house prices go down. Therefore, I am again giving permission to have that. People only look at it from their own perspective. It may be good for society, but it's not good for me. And we do believe in individual choice. we have no other way of running society than believing in choice. So what I want to put is that there are serious, let me call it philosophical problems of justifying collective action. And most of the time, we know that happens, but we still go on believing they're having these conferences and talking year after year. Something may break through, something may happen, which will get its consensus. And I am, sorry to say, extremely skeptical that it is possible for climate change to be tackled in a cooperative, collective way. Now, I don't know what I'll do at this stage, but I think at least there is this idea that as long as people are different from each other, it's very difficult to get collective action. Now, it may be the one escape I was talking about earlier, that a prospect of something like a nuclear destruction was so immediate to all powerful countries, and the countries which had nuclear weapons were the powerful country, and they would have suffered themselves if nuclear war had broken out. You know, the minor countries are not going to suffer. And that is probably what made the powerful countries behave differently than you would expect them to behave. So it is not that the non-nuclear powers were worried about it. The nuclear powers were worried about it. The fact that the rich and powerful could mutually destroy each other, maybe that is what caused rationality to come in the nuclear case. I'm assuming that is rationality in the nuclear case because not only has nothing happened, but by and large, no country has ever used a nuclear weapon seriously in a war, except perhaps the attack on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the first one, but that was not a thermonuclear, but just a nuclear weapon. But anyway, apart from that, we haven't had any example of a use of a nuclear weapon. So in a sense, people believe that they ought to have a nuclear weapon, but know that they won't be able to use it, which is very interesting sort of a philosophical situation, that you actually go and spend money on getting a very powerful weapon for the absolute certainty you're not going to use it, because having it is sufficient guarantee that you will be all right. Now, we haven't found anything like that in the climate change field. We haven't found a magic antidote which will get us out of the climate change dilemma, but it will not be prohibitively expensive, or it will not be destructive of other people. Now, having your own nuclear weapon doesn't cause anybody any problem, provided you don't use it. But having it as a threat to the other people saves you from having been threatened by other people. And so, I don't know that there will be any situation in climate change which will actually make us behave less selfishly than we have been behaving so far. But, you know, I can't guarantee any certainty in life, but I do think that apart from the one possible road, that we may have an invention which will be both simultaneously save us from using fossil fuel and not cause any other problems, and that we will be able to find some solution to the rehousing of millions of people who are going to be drowning. And you know, I really cannot say that don't worry, we're going to tackle climate change and life is going to be all right. I'm sorry about that, but that's the way life is, and let's hope, all of us, that I'm wrong. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much for bringing that the science of climate change is not important, but also the psychology of climate change is important. May I now request Padma Shri Mehta ji to deliver the session chair remarks. Mehta ji, sir.
After such an enlightening talk, I'll be very brief. Friends, I think this event has been very significant for three reasons. The COP28 was just over in our neighborhood in Dubai. This talk has been given by one of the most eminent personalities and the one who has a deep knowledge of this entire subject. And third is in the memory of a person for whom ecology and climate were the highest priority and who really acted in creating an institution. Hasmukh Bhai had many alternatives. He was such an all-rounder. But he chose in his last year post-retirement to concentrate on the subject which was so dear to his heart, that was ecology and environment, and created the institution. So therefore I said today's event has a great significance for all of us, and really congratulate Samir and his team of ecology for arranging this. I mean, since childhood, or ever since I became young and attending so many conferences around the world on environment, we often came back with two extreme events. One was the very studious professors who would say this much methane has increased and this much carbon dioxide has gone in the air, and see what level is rising and so on, and things are going to be horrible. And the other side, what on those days we used to see the big curatorial business people who would say the earth is here to be exploited. But then we know the earth, whom we call Mother Earth, has always behaved like a living system. More than 4 billion years back, when the earth was formed and slowly the evolution started with the amino acids and the first bacterial production, the initial algae, and for them carbon dioxide was the pranavayu. They lived on carbon dioxide and emitted oxygen. And oxygen level went on going up and up, which resulted into dying of those microorganisms. And probably the earth therefore created the species which would live on oxygen. And that's how down the line we came on the earth. So when we talk about climate change, the gloomy picture, the bad thing, we should also remember always that there has always been changes. But the only biggest change after so many extinction cycles in the world has been that this is the first time the threatening is because of the what we call anthropocene activity, because of the human nourishing, and I think human help to solve. And there are, of course, 3 or 4 developments which have been, among all these gloomy pictures, have been great. The first time in the world, all have come together, recognizing the problem and talking in one uniform putting the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and so on. The second has been that there has been more and more innovations. Every industry which you see around in Baroda, which has been the capital of petrochemicals and polymer, is going to be changed with more eco-friendly, nature-friendly technologies in the time to come, whether it is fertilizers, it is petrochemicals, and so on. And this has been recognized by all the people that close to nature technology are going to be the winners. And third, equally important thing is like the Nobel laureate Jan Timmerson said, that two things are constant. One is the number of generations we care for. As a human, the number of generations that we care for is going to be constant. And number two, the innovative spirit of the human. And so we see that a whole lot of things are changing. But what is needed in all these conferences, like as our speaker very rightly mentioned, is the actions at all levels. In fact, recently in in my book, which has just gone for publication, the international publisher changed the title. I had written Science, Spirituality, and the Sustainable Future, but he put on top an ounce of action. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, that when your actions and your talk are in harmony, you are the happiest person. And the same thing applies for the world. So I think the actions, an ounce of action at all levels is going to be much more important in the time to come. I am therefore very thankful to our speaker today and the organizer for having selected this topic and given us the insight into the whole world scenario. Thank you very much. We have room for one or two questions or comments, though we don't have much time.
I thought the talk was fantastic, and I'm glad you dealt with climate change in this perspective. On a lighter vein, you're in the building industry, the same guy who is asking you to use a WC pot, which is going to save, you're going to flush with 2 liters of water. The same guy is selling you this jet spray with multi-jets and all, which is going to consume 200 liters per minute. And the buyer is buying both the stories. So we are straddling that kind of a world right now. That's the point I wanted to, in a lighter way. But on a more serious note, while we are talking about climate change and focusing on energy, I think water seems to become a major issue which we cannot quantify, because we may get solar panels and get our energy sorted, but water crisis is going to be very real, and for a country like 1.4 billion, I mean, water is a very serious matter. Right now we're just digging a hole in the ground and taking any amount of water that we want to, just take it out free. That's the biggest problem.
No, I agree with you, because there are places where water is very scarce, and they are not going to get any special supply of water. And also there are also places where water is in danger because the sea levels are rising. So in the water is a problem in two very different ways. And we haven't really found, and water is very heavy. And so physically it's very heavy. So it's very difficult to transport it from one part to another. And so it is that there are special problems of water. And because it is obvious to take it for granted, we don't actually tackle the water problem. That's it. And again, we don't know when we will get sensible and do that. But I mean, let me just give you an example. In Goa, the government had passed a law or a regulation that people should not build their homes too close to the seafront. And of course, people violated the law and they built. And those houses have actually lost land in the gardens because the sea level has risen. And and it's obvious they broke the law and now they have paid the price for that. I would like to see more examples like that. That it will teach people that you actually break the law, you actually pay for it, and not somebody else doesn't pay for it.
So in cities like Bangalore, you are charged for your water, you meter for it, even if you are just taking a borewell and pulling out the water from the ground. It's like, right now in Baroda, water is free, you just take any amount. Your neighbor could be using 1,000 liters a day and you could be using that frugal shaving water, saving that's how it is.
Section of the minerals which are used in these electric batteries, they have their own cost on the ecology. So what is the other side of it?
Let me say, first of all,
Meghnad, very thankful that you came here. I've been reading your columns in the Indian Express Sunday, and I was disappointed when that column was discontinued. But coming back to your talk, is it, from your perspective and experience, is that something we are missing here? Is that something that we still do not know about?
From the climate science point of view, that is quite rigorous and quite convincing. But from the cultural system point of view or political system point of view, all this posturing in each of the conferences and certain two steps forward and 4 steps backward or whatever that is dance that is happening, I feel that I'm not using the word conspiracy theory here, but I'm just curious whether at a larger global scale, if you are aware of certain patterns that common people are not aware of or they are not even coming out in media that could be affecting this particular crisis. I won't call this climate change. So many of us call this climate crisis because the way things are not moving or moving gives me a kind of a suspicious kind of feel that something is amiss and something is not, we do not know something that's going on. So all these people who gather at the higher level, whether what they are talking about is a little bit questionable. And the second thing, a comment similar to the one that this gentleman made, but at a different level, and that what we are missing is not just innovation or these other kind of escapes or solutions. What we are missing is sound education. See, we are addressing the problem at the wrong end. And I mean, it is an end that needs to be addressed, but I think what is missing is ecological literacy at all levels, in all sectors. Because that level, your example of Silent Spring by Rachel Kaplan that was published in 1962 or 1, it was an eye-opener for many. Similarly, a degree of seriousness about ecological literacy at all levels is something that is very important, which will be adding to this 2 or 3 escapes or ideas that you suggested. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. You raised a lot of issues. My view is that one of the reasons we face this climate change problem is precisely the things that we object to, which is fossil fuels. Fossil fuels have made things possible which were not possible 200 years ago. First of all, we have had a huge increase of population. We have a huge increase in speed of communication. We have a huge increase in speed of transport. So nowadays you can actually have conferences galore, having 3,000 people certainly. And yes, we talk about carbon, but it's not actually prohibitively expensive to have a conference, COP28 or COP29. And in a sense, since the Second World War and creating United Nations, in the 20th century, creating things like League of Nations or United Nations, we basically think that one way to solve problems is to get everybody together and talk to each other. It doesn't necessarily solve the problem, but somehow people do believe this, disarmament conferences or climate change conferences will ultimately resolve, so dialogue will ultimately resolve the problem. And so I think one of the things is that we indulge in these conferences. And I've been following these conferences, since the early 1970s, and very little changes in the agenda. Everybody says, we have not very much time left to solve our problems. And I gave the example of nuclear war because that was actually physically possible to envisage a total destruction. And somehow, when that danger has psychologically passed, I started asking myself, what happened that we lost the fear of nuclear war? Why can't we lose change, in a sense? So, and I don't know the answer, but it just may be that something like fossil fuel may be invented, which will solve our problem. But that is whistling in the wind. That is not actually. It's very interesting. I started thinking about why it was so difficult to solve this problem. And I think it's more and more in terms of the way people think about their own self-interest. And we haven't actually found a way of solving the collective behavior problem, which is part of economic behavior. The collective behavior problem is a very difficult problem to solve.
Will ecological education help change the behavior?
Any other?
First of all, thank you on behalf of the family and Meghnad Trust. Absolutely delighted that you could be here. I think my father would have been absolutely delighted. I'm sure he's smiling somewhere. The question I had is that, in history one sees, one knows about civilizations that have disappeared, whether it's Mayan or indeed Indus Valley due to prolonged drought. And surely they saw it coming because it doesn't happen overnight. It's a pattern over decades actually. And what is it? I know you tried to explain the psychology, but how can we learn from this and can we not know that this has happened? Climate change is not a new thing. People have perished. What will wake us up?
My view is that, I read lots of newspapers every day. But I have been warned about climate change for 60 years now. Okay, every time it's rising, and it's going to cause. And so far nothing has happened. There are forest fires, somewhere there are forest fires. And people would like us to believe that things are getting more serious. And I don't doubt that scientifically. But somehow, as you quite rightly said, civilizations have disappeared. But so far, as far as I know, in the 20th century or 21st century, nothing had completely disappeared. And the fact that we survived the nuclear holocaust, likely nuclear holocaust, okay, so far, we don't know what happened. I'm thinking more and more about how is it that we stop fearing nuclear holocaust. Because I think that was a much more patent danger. In the 60s, there were people marching in UK from Aldermaston to wherever it was, and there were all sorts of things going on. And now nobody talks about it. It's just amazing that nobody thinks. As you say, that the North Koreans are saying, oh, we are going to explode something else. Nobody minded at all. Now, how is it that we overcame the fear of nuclear war and will we overcome the fear of climate change or something? Or will we find a solution to climate change? I don't know. But because climate change is sort of more difficult to worry about than nuclear destruction. That's one example. The nuclear destruction looked actually possible because first of all, Hiroshima and Nagasaki had happened. And secondly, we were told that a thermonuclear thing was much worse. And we had all these tests going on in Bikini Island and all this stuff. So it may be that some people still don't, people don't take climate change seriously. They don't actually fear climate change. Again, it seems to me whenever I read about it, they've been saying in Delhi how things are getting colder or hotter, whatever it is. I don't feel I have lived through, an amazingly new development in the 60 years, in 80 years of my life. The world may have been getting warmer, but have I felt personally? No. Right? And so it could be that these are global, big changes, but they don't affect individuals that much badly. And if they do, those communities are isolated and they don't actually care about it. And so these small islands, what happens to them?
When I was in Environment Research Center, there used to be one funny story going around. So one scientist did a lot of calculations and came home and told his wife that in 5,55,000 years, the world is going to be gone. And the next day, he comes and tells the guy, I was wrong in my calculation. It is not 5,55,000, but it is 5,52,000. And his wife said, thank God, now I will do this.
Quick question. I mean, you ended in an optimistic note. How optimistic you are?
The writers and all, on one side, and not even the spiritual leaders talking about spiritual ecology and the oneness of the world and all that. How optimistic are you?
I'm in my 84th year. What do I care? I've done what I have to do, and the rest is music. What I was thinking about, actually, in a sense, our attitude, I think, basically lacks seriousness, because again and again I feel I've heard the same thing being said now much of my lifetime, and nobody seems to have done anything very much about it. But so far, I have not been visited by any danger to my life or to my surroundings. Now, is it that people are more insightful or they discovered a problem of this thing global warming, which sounds much more serious to them, but it's something which we can get used to. If it's just warming, okay, I'm much rather it must cool down much more. If it warms, it's easier for me to live with warmer climate than in a cooler climate. But there is something going on in here, because this is much of my adult life I have heard about climate change, and I have not seen anybody do anything about it, which is seriously well, and we're still all here. Population is still growing, in a GDP that's rising everywhere. So, is this a serious problem, or is it just a certain local thing in which we could do better if we heeded climate change? But actually, don't worry about it. We're not going to be like the dinosaurs. something goes from outside space. So I'm still very puzzled with that. We have all these conferences and so on. And nobody is serious. As I said, what I read in the environment ministry in India is, we were all right because we saved our coal supply consideration. That's all they care about. What else happened in that council? Who cares? I only care about what happened to me, and I think my coal crops are now not going to be useless. Why? No. It is a separate selfishness of all of us which makes it do. And will that separate selfishness affect all of us, or will it affect only some of us, but we don't know who it will? I think it's one of this. But I don't think what I wish I take it more seriously than I do.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I really thank our esteemed speakers and session chair for this wonderful session and eye-opening session. And I also thank the people from the audience for their interesting questions and making this session a more brainstorming and interactive. Now, we come to a very special occasion which is being awaited by all of us. That is the felicitation of this year's awardees for Hasmukh Shah Memorial Awards for ecological studies. This is a momentous occasion that reminds us of the profound impact an individual can have when it comes to taking conservation actions and fight against climate change. We are thankful to our esteemed jury for the first Hasmukh Shah Memorial Awards, Dr. Anjana Desai, retired professor MSU, Dr. Salesh Nayak, Director NIOS, and esteemed Emeritus Scientist, Minister of Earth Science, and Mr. Girish Rohani sir, Principal Advisor and Trustee BIF. Now, may I request Dr. Jain to felicitate Shri Girish Rohani sir, our esteemed jury member, and I request sir to please come on stage.
Together once again to honor as the enduring vision of the late Sri Hasmukh Shah in the realms of environment and ecology. It gives me immense pleasure to announce the first Hasmukh Shah Memorial Awards for Ecological Studies. Instituted in 2022, the Hasmukh Shah Memorial Awards embody a profound commitment to preserving and perpetuating the visionary legacy of Sri Shah. Hasmukh Shah, fondly known as Hasmukh Bhai, was the founder chairman of many organizations like Gujarat Ecological Society, GES, Gujarat Ecological Commission, GEC, Gujarat Institute of Desert Ecology, GUIDE, Gujarat Nature Conservation, GNCS, Darshak Ityas Nidhi, DIN, to further support the aspirations of young and emerging ecological minds. The Kachnar Trust, which is owned by Sri Hasmukh Bhai Shah's family, has taken a momentous decision to institute the Hasmukh Shah Memorial Awards in participation with Gujarat Ecological Society. The Hasmukh Shah Memorial Awards for Ecological Studies aims to recognize and reward individuals whose work has made a significant impact in the field of environment, conservation or development, demonstrating a poor track of record of researched, developed or implemented innovative environmental, technical or social solutions. The awards are given in two categories. First is the researchers and second is the practitioners. Each category carried a prestigious cash prize of 2 lakh rupees each. This is the main award. In addition to the main award, felicitations of 25,000 rupees each are also conferred to 4 individuals, 2 in each categories, with promising research potential under the Jury Recognition Award. A total of 6 awards thus are conferred. It is with great pleasure that I share in the inaugural year, we received an overwhelming response with 24 applications reflecting nationwide interest in this commendable initiative. Outreach efforts included the dissemination of information through GES website, LinkedIn, major national research groups, and various social media platforms. All applications underwent through scrutiny against eligibility criteria. Each application was meticulously assessed and ranked based on the criteria such as impact, innovation, sustainability, and scalability for evaluation and shortlisting of the 10 top applicants. A distinguished 3-member jury panel comprising of myself, Dr. Salesh Nayak, and Sri Girish Sohani was formed to evaluate the shortlisted final awardees. The candidates presented their work through 20 minutes online presentation on October 28, 2023. And based on the final assessment, I am pleased to inform the awardees of the Hasmukh Shah Memorial Award for this year. May I now invite Padma Sri Lord Meghnad Desai ji to felicitate the esteemed awardees. We will first start with the Practitioner Award. In the Practitioner category, we applaud Arpit Devmurari for receiving the Hasmukh Shah Memorial Award for his exemplary work on technology for conservation. I call upon Mr. Arpit to join on the stage to receive the award. Mr. Arpit had over 18 years of professional experience in private, public, and corporate environments in diverse areas ranging from IT, GIS to conservation. He used multiple research and technology tools to bring improvements in the natural and resource management and sustainable development domain. I congratulate you, Arpit, for the award. In the research category, for the main award, the award is shared by 2 promising young ecologists, Ms. Amrita Chaurasia and Mr. Alvin Anto. Ms. Amrita Chaurasia is acknowledged for her research on tree species diversity, estimates of selected forest covers of India using average NG approach. I invite Ms. Chaurasia to come onto the stage to collect the award. Amrita used average NG approach to study tree species diversity, estimates which was very well correlated with conventional field diversity data. So this correlation was with high degree of precision. That's a good piece of work. Congratulations, Amrita. Now I invite Mr. Alvin Anto, who shared this award for his work on understanding the primary drivers of the coral resilience. I invite him to come to the stage to receive the award. Mr. Alvin Anto, he developed a technique which is resilience-based management technique, which was compared to the conventional method. This is used for these studies. By identifying the primary drivers, that is the symbiotic algae associated with the coral reefs, the RBM was achieved. I congratulate you, Mr. Alvin Anto. Under the practitioner category, Dr. Amel Khan received this year's Jury Recognition Award for his work on mapping and quantitative assessment of plant resources and distribution in Madhya Pradesh, Central India. I invite Dr. Khan to the stage to receive the award. Dr. Khan. I invite Mr. M.H. Mehta to deliver the award. Is also acknowledged with the Jury Recognition Award for his work on scaling up system of crop intensification for food security and income enhancement of small and marginal farmers. Under the practitioner category, I invite Mr. Adhikari to receive the award. The work led by Mr. Adhikari led to increase in farming incomes. He adopted different techniques so that it led to the increase in the farming incomes, conservation of the soil sustainability, conservation of the water usage, and he also adopted various methods of extension of the work to the farmer community. I congratulate him. Moving on to the research category, in the Jury Recognition Award category, I extend an invitation to Samiha Pathan to receive the award for her outstanding work on how to study the unseen. Methods to investigate the ecology of endangered remnant population of sea cows through their dynamic underwater sea grass procedure. The method to understand the remnant population of dugongs, that sea cows, using the seagrass pasture, and this was used as a tool to locate the habitat of the sea cows. Lastly, the second recipient of the Jury Selection Award is Ms. Atiha Farooq for her impactful work on iron supplementation, effect on growth of pea, hypothalamus, and Spinacia olaceus in aquaponics. Unfortunately, due to her personal reasons, Ms. Achia is not unable to collect the award in person. Therefore, I extend an invitation to Ms. Ghazala Sheikh to collect the award on her behalf. Atiha's work can have impact on the replacing conventional nutrient with fish effluents from the primary aquaculture system. Fish effluent from the primary aquaculture system supplies 10 of the 13 micronutrients required for the plant growth. And she tried to optimize the iron concentration for the supplement. So thank you all and congratulations to all the participants for their achievements. For the nominations for the Hasmukh Shah Memorial Award 2024. It will be open from 1st January 2024 and the candidates can apply online via visiting the website, GES website, www.gesindia.org. We hope 2024 will bring much larger number of applications and participations. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I really extend my thanks to the jury member. I know how meticulous it was and whole day was occupied for the interviewing all the candidates. Now, as we move to conclude with this session, I want to have one important announcement. And we have the autobiography of late Hasmukh Shah, and we have 6 copies of it. whatever the sale will be, it will be going to the Kachnad Trust, and the sale will be used for funding such ecological research studies, and the awards will be given on to that. So this is the book which we are currently accepting the orders. Anybody who is interested in buying the book can place the order outside on the counter, and the proceedings will go to the Kachnad Trust. From the margins of history, it is the biography of late Shri Hasmukh Shah. Now, as we come to conclude this evening, I invite Dr. Jayendra Lakmapurkar, Director GES, to give important update about GES and deliver the vote of thanks. Dr. Jayendra.
Thank you all. We have just updated our website, gesindia.org. So it will have all the details about the lectures that we are carrying out since last 2 years and award details. So whoever interested can visit that website. It is www.gesindia.org. All the announcements related to awards will also be kept on the website. Okay. Now, good evening all. I feel honored to propose the vote of thanks on this special day of the second Hasmukh Shah Memorial Lecture. On behalf of GS India family, I convey my regards and heartiest thanks to the guest speaker, Lord Meghnad Desai. Sir, thank you for squeezing out time from your busy schedule and delivering a lecture in a very crucial topic. Especially thanks to Dr. Amit Mehta for his valuable remarks. Sir, your presence has added extra value to this occasion. Thank you, sir. My sincere gratitude towards the jury members, Dr. Shailesh Nayak, Shri Girish Sohani, and Dr. Anjana Desai for sharing their invaluable expertise and selecting awardees. Thank you, madam and sir. I also express my thanks to all the awardees for participating in this event and making it a success. We are very thankful to the Kachnad Trust and Shah's family for the inspirational initiative of the Hasmukh Shah Memorial Award. I thank all attendees. Your presence is very inspirational for today's and the future events that we are planning. Thank you all. My sincere thanks to the Shaili Engineering and Rumabi Chemicals for supporting the event. Your support is crucial for the successful organization of this event. I also express my sincere thanks and gratitude to FGI for providing the venue and facilities for this event. Thanks to all the friends for the from the elected and press media for covering the event. Last but not the least, big thanks to all the volunteers for their support to make this event successful. May I request all of you to stand for the national anthem.
Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, Dravida, Uttal, Banga, Vindhya, Himachal, Yamuna, Ganga, Uchchal, Jaladi, Taranga. Tav Shubh Naame Jage, Tav Shubh Ashish Mange, Gahe Tav Jaya Gata, Jana Gana Mangal Dayak Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidata, Jaya He, Jaya He, Jaya He, Jaya 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 He.
Thank you all.
Thank you everyone, and may I request all of us, you to please join us for the high tea.